everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Jen here. I'm with my co-host Carrie, and we're so excited for you to join us today. We were hoping that we could just chat again about some good routines for kids. It's that time of the year, it's back to school, and we were just talking about, some of the things that parents might have questions on, how to support the kids' immune system, and good healthy snacks, what to pack in lunches, and then talking about good sources of electrolytes. Kids are back at practice or starting to get back into sports. So yeah, we just wanted to chat with you today, just about some simple things for kids to support their immune system and their nutrition. And so yeah, we're glad you're here.
Yeah. It's always getting back in the routine type of feeling whenever your kids start to school. It's a good thing, but also sometimes, you just kind of forget like, okay, what did I used to do?
Right.
So we wanted to just go through a few things like Jen said. First we wanted to start with stress support because I think that's a really big overlooked thing, right? I mean, kids shouldn't be as stressed as they are today, but
No.
they just are, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, kids,
Socially.
yes, I mean, from a lot of
I can
different ways.
I mean, this is probably I feel like I still have PTSD from that first day of school of trying to finding a lunch table.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. It's little things like that we don't think about or remember,
Right. Right.
Um, but in general, I really do like starting back to school because it does provide a routine. And I really think adults and kids thrive on routines because your body knows what to expect and you can have some of these things in place that, you're supporting yourself from different viewpoints.
Yeah.
So on the stress support, the routine in itself is very stress supporting. Um, you feel less rushed, you know what to expect. There's just the cortisol stays more balanced, your blood sugar hopefully stays more balanced that way. But just thinking about some of the routines that I really enjoy to help support that, obviously morning and evening routines. Um, Using oils is something that I've been doing for several years as part of a morning and evening routine. Um, Winding down at night, I love to use Serenity and or some type of oil blend in the diffuser that just helps them to hopefully wind down and get restful sleep. And then in the morning, the other morning, my son was just like crying because he didn't want to go to school, and so I was like rubbing oil on him as he walked out the door. So having some roller bottles that are just kind of like a calming blend would be good to kind of swipe on their spine or around their pulse points before they leave can really help them to just, get in a routine better to wake up and feel calm and not on edge in the morning. Um, but do you want to talk about some other maybe supplemental supports even for this?
Yes. So I know for my kids, a mineral support called Mintran was super helpful just for calming at night, to help engage that parasympathetics. That's your rest and digest. It's not a chewable, so you'd have to crush it for the younger kids. But I taught my kids how to swallow really young, probably three, just putting the tablet in the middle of some sorbet on a spoon and having them, just allowing the sorbet to kind of run down their throat. And it taught my kids how to swallow. But you could also crush it and put it in applesauce. Cinnamon hides anything. I loved Mintran. I still take Mintran every day myself, um, just to feel more calm, and focused. So that's one thing supplementally that I have always
Yeah.
used with the kids. And then this isn't a supplement, but I feel like for us, I know we've talked about this, but winding down screens at night to help them
Yeah.
relax. So giving an hour before bed, without any screens, to help. One is they're looking at that blue light, right?
Yeah.
So it's killing their melatonin, and producing more or cortisol. But also, obviously, they're just stimulated. So that's for me. That was my own sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for the kids now because they're getting, devices earlier and earlier.
Yeah.
But anyway, also back to supplements. You can use a magnesium gummy. I love the Nordic Naturals magnesium gummies, and we'll put these in a little bundle on Full Script for you, so that they're all available to you. But I want to stress the magnesium gummies for sleep are important, but only if they're getting sodium and potassium. Um, and so, Relight, they have a kids Relight. There's Element, I know the kids like. Those are super important. Make sure that they're salting their foods. I know we're kind of scared away from, salt as a society, but they absolutely need
Yeah.
sodium and potassium before they need the magnesium. So make sure they're getting those minerals first. But you can definitely use a natural calming, the Nordic Natural Magnesium gummies at night. I think it's great for kids as long as they're getting. I'm sure there's oils, that Carrie mentioned, like the Serenity,
Hmm.
that you can use at night too. While we're talking about electrolytes, um, I just want to talk a little bit about Gatorade because that's kind of our go-to for a lot of people.
Yeah.
One is Gatorade has dyes, which are not great for the brain, especially a kid's brain. But we can do a whole episode on dyes. I'm not going to get into that. I think most people understand,
Yeah.
as right too. It looks like a lot of these companies are making a shift away from the dyes because the science is so good. But also, what people don't know is that Gatorade has bromide, right? And so bromide takes the place of iodine, which is super important for a healthy endocrine system, especially for a growing kid's
Yeah.
endocrine system. So it has bromide, brominated vegetable oil in it. It's how they allow and suspend the minerals in that drink. So Gatorade is, and it's mostly, honestly, glucose. Anyways, it doesn't have a ton of sodium and potassium and chloride. Um, so as a choice for an electrolyte drink, if your kids are playing sports, it's a hard no for us. Um,
Mm.
I'll put a couple of the choices. Obviously, we use Relight. My kids love the orange flavor. They do have a kids Relight. It also comes in a capsule. They have to follow it with water, but you can
Yeah.
give the kids an electrolyte in a capsule, which would be much better than the Gatorade. Obviously, they're drinking, so you might want to put it in their water during practice. Like the Element or the Relight. But those are way better choices than the Gatorade. Um,
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, go for the Gatorade for sports, but there's definitely better choices. And that leads us to food, right? So when we're talking about food for kids, especially for breakfast, it's the first meal. And so for them to eat an ultra processed, high sugar breakfast cereal, these will cause a spike and therefore then a crash in their blood sugar, affecting their focus and their mood. So if they tend to be more, problems with attention deficit, eating protein at breakfast is a must. It's a must. It's a must. If they don't like eggs, again, you can give them things that are not the normal breakfast foods as long as they're getting protein. I've literally given my kids beef sticks that they've eaten on the ride to school. So at least it's some sort of protein, rather than a sugar or a cinnamon bun or something that doesn't have any protein. Yogurt, Greek yogurt is great with berries. I've made parfait for my kids. And like a nut, I can't think of the brand. Is it Sunday? Carrie, what's the one?
Seven Sundays.
Seven Sundays, right? Which is a granola, but it's made from nuts and like chia seeds and coconut flakes, and so it's has good fats, and it's not just a carby
Yeah.
sort of thing. Um, so breakfast is super important for them. So give them some protein. Do them a favor and give them some protein because a lot of times they're not eating for a while after breakfast.
Yeah.
Lunch might be later in the day, so it becomes even more important. Do you want to talk about maybe some lunch ideas or snacks?
Yeah, sure. So, lunch ideas, you could definitely do some like type of lunchable idea. So just like meat, cheese, some high quality crackers, fruit,
Right.
maybe like a vegetable to go with that. That's a really easy thing. My daughter loves making sub in a tub. So basically like what you would put on a sub, just put it over lettuce. That's what she's been making and she loves it. So that's
That's
definitely an
good.
idea. Yeah. Any
Tasty.
sort of leftovers. I mean, obvious. That's a kind of maybe a choice that might take a little bit more effort in the morning on our part as moms, but I've done that so often. So those are kind
Yeah.
of some of my lunch ideas. Do you have any? I mean, there's
Well,
so many
my
more.
kids, my youngest Jack, he loves just like a basic taco meat, like ground beef I saute with some taco seasoning, rice, and then we throw guacamole on there. We throw some raw milk cheese and salsa, and he loves that. And he could
That sounds
literally eat it
good.
every day. He'll eat it for a snack. He eats it for lunch. I make shrimp. He loves shrimp. And I know not all kids love seafood. But shrimp is so easy to make. You can literally go
Yeah.
frozen to ready to made, shrimp. If they like cocktail sauce, sometimes I'll just put it in a stir fry. I'll make
Mhm.
some rice. I throw in some frozen peas, grate in some carrots, some
Yeah.
scallions, and he will eat that. I realize not every kid will. You can throw some soy sauce on it, but he also loves the rice and shrimp. And then, like you said, he'll just roll up some like nitrate-free turkey or pepperoni and make like a Lunchable crackers, raw milk cheese. He loves
Yeah.
olives. And those all can be great snacks too.
Yeah, that's true.
Uh, I know some kids won't eat hard-boiled eggs, but some will. Those are great sources of protein for snacks. Hummus with a vegetable, celery,
Mhm.
cucumbers, carrots, are great snacks. Or you could just roll up some lunch meat too. Sometimes just roll up some lunch meat with some cheese, is a super simple, and it's high protein and filling.
Yeah, for sure. Apples, my kids love apples too, so I'll sometimes
Oh,
do that
apples
with
and
nut
almond
butter.
butter.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
So that's kind
sure.
of a good one too, easy. So you can
Yeah.
keep on hand. But those are just
And
some
I
ideas.
always salt apples. I know this sounds crazy, but it's so good. Try it. And it's a way to get a little bit more sodium, especially giving you the magnesium gummies
Yeah.
that night. As you cut up the apple, you salt it, salt the apple and salt the nut butter. And the kids love it. Like Jack won't even be hungry. I'll be like, "Do you want an apple with some nut butter and salt?" He's like, "Yes."
I haven't thought about that, so I'll have to do that.
Yeah.
Um,
And
go
then
ahead.
natural immune boosters. I want to talk about that because I get a lot of questions, obviously, with my background in supplements, like what can I give the kids to sort of boost their immune system? I would say number one would be just a good whole food multiple. For my kids, I used chewable Catalin
Yeah.
from Standard Process. It's cherry flavored. They loved it. That's I would say first and foremost, definitely a must. And then probably you could do a chewable fish oil. Nordic Naturals has a beautiful orange flavored, chewable little capsule. They're tiny, tiny, tiny little gel caps, so they're really easy for kids to swallow. They could spit out the gel cap after, or they
Hmm.
can swallow it. So I would say a natural whole food, multiple like the chewable Catalan and the Nordic Naturals chewable DHA for fish oil are really basics that probably every kid should be taking. Um, and then there's immune support. So inevitably, right, when school starts and we start to get into the colder months and stuff, and we'll probably do an episode, I hope, on this again. But
Yeah.
Chondroplex from Standard Process comes in a chewable too. It's cherry flavored. That is great if they pick up a little sniffle or maybe strep throat's going around or something, and you want to boost their immune system. That chewable Chondroplex is great. But honestly, if they're getting enough sleep, if they're staying away from sugar, taking the chewable Calin and chewable DHEA from Nordic Naturals, that's really enough for them, right?
Mhm.
Now, if they're playing sports, they're not getting enough sleep, and you want to add that extra little boost, the chewable Chondroplex can be great.
Yeah.
And getting
Uh,
outside.
That's true. They're inside. It was funny. I picked up my son yesterday and he was like, I mean, I'm at school way longer than I'm at home. It was like he
That's
was counting
true.
the hours. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of true. So they're just
Yeah.
inside a lot. And honestly, they just don't get outside enough and get to move around enough. So yes,
Yeah.
bare
Get
feet
them
in
out.
the grass. Right.
Amen. Yes. Right. Especially when they're sitting still all day at a
I
desk.
know.
Yeah, so get them outside. It's okay that, I feel like we're hyper, like the hyper cleansiness, is almost a problem now. So it's okay that they get outside and get dirty and, that
Right.
sort of thing. It's actually a good thing, but definitely feed in the grass too to get them some
For sure.
grounding. Yeah.
Yeah. No doubt.
But we can dig deeper into definitely some maybe immune support as we get into the colder months for adults and for kids. But if you have any questions, please reach out to us. We're always happy to help you. sort of, figure out what's the best support for you and for your family, because we know there's lots of options, and we want to be there for you. So thanks
Yeah.
for joining us. Until the next episode, we'll be praying for you.